وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear testimony to the fact that Muhammad, upon whom be peace, is the last and final messenger of Allah, after whom no prophet, hold on, you will become. Hold on, you will come. And I begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful. Maulana M.K. Haidal, members of the new executive, honorees, members, supporters, well-wishers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This evening, I would like to welcome each and every one of you today who have not only dedicated your time to spend this evening with us, but also to participate in this very interesting topic that we have today, and that will be presented to us this evening, Ahmadiyya movement for a world of turmoil. For those of you who missed this morning's business session, this year the Anjuman will be celebrating its 50th anniversary, and we would like to make it a year of celebration. So to start our celebrations off today, as we do every year, we would like to thank, recognize, and award 2 members of the Ahmadiyya Anjuman who have assiduously and continuously worked with us throughout the years. Firstly, although he has passed away, Mr. Imad Bach, who served the Ahmadiyya movement and the Fireburn Ahmadiyya Jamaat since its inception, we would like to, and his many attempts, we would like to honor him today. Many attempts were made to honor this individual in the past whilst he was alive. However, being the very humble person he was, he always refused and said to give it to someone else. So we have taken the decision to honor him posthumously today. To read a small profile, I would like to invite his daughter, Nissa Bach, to give a profile on behalf of her dad.
Brothers and sisters, all assalamu alaikum. When Uncle Arif called me to ask if I'd be willing to do this speech today, I immediately agreed. After hanging up, however, I immediately broke down in tears in the middle of work. I got questionable looks from customers, I will admit. One of my first thoughts was, what I write, would it ever live up to my father? Live up to his memory? I hope in this speech, in some way, whatever I say this afternoon lives up to the image each and every one of you have in your heads of my father, Imad Bach. Who was Imad Bach? Well, according to his siblings, the eldest, Shamsho, described him to be loving and nice, someone who was used to give the best advice, a man who wanted the best for people. From Imraz, he described him as not a wealthy person, but tried to live within his means. He did the best that he could do within the time frame that Almighty Allah spared him on this earth. He tried to live a religious and simple life. From his brother Akbar, I asked him, what is one word you'd use to describe my father? And his immediate response was honest. According to Shahid, he was one of the best persons in the Bach family, a type of person you could depend on with anything that was in his reach. And that is what made him the best. From the youngest of the Bach brothers, Shahzad remembered my father as someone who would put religion in front of everything. He was dedicated first to Islam. And finally, from the youngest and only sister of the Bach siblings, Sadia recognized her older brother as one in a million, a loving and caring man. These are the remarks used from my father's siblings, but it isn't all. How would I describe my father? A grump but softy at heart. My father dedicated his life to religion and work. He did all that he could to provide for his family. He loved gardening, cricket, exercising, and politics. So much that he would wake up at 3 a.m. just to watch a match. Even after retiring from his 30-plus year service to the Couva Regional Corporation, he continued to work hard. My father was the type of person to always push for youth education, which is very important in his eyes. He was also well known for biting people's children's cheeks. My father was most happiest at mosque. Surrounded by the Anjuman is where he'd wear his best smile. I come from a broken family, but my father was the glue to the Bach family. There will never be another like him, which I am thankful for, because in my eyes, no one after can live up to him. It's been almost 7 months since he left us, but I know he's still here. This may sound cheesy, but I see him in every sunrise, every raindrop, in the trees and in the breeze. To conclude, I hope after today we all remember not just the simple moments my father Imad shared with us, but the lasting impact he left on our lives. Remember his love, wisdom, and support. Though I'm sure we all miss him deeply, we should find comfort in knowing his legacy lives on through the lessons he taught us, the values he instilled, and the love he gave us freely. May we honor him by carrying forward the example he set for us in how to live with kindness, strength, and generosity. Though he is no longer with us in person, his spirit will forever be a part of who we are. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And I know that was really a hard task for you. I will now like to ask Mrs. Dushal Ramjan, that is wife of Mr. Farzan Ramjan, to pin the award of the Ahmadiyya Anjuman, the Hilali Ahmadiyya, to his wife, Mrs. Zenora Bach. And Auntie Zenora would like to thank the Anjuman for this gesture. Our second honoree today is a hardworking and dedicated member of the New Grand Jamaat and the Ahmadiyya Anjuman since she became a member of that Jamaat through her marriage to Mr. Wazir Muhammad. To present a profile of Mrs. Gauri Vimla Muhammad, I will ask her son, Shazir Muhammad, to perform this task. Okay?
Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum. Before I start, I'd just like to say that you did a very good job, given what you've been going through. If I was in your position, I don't think I would be able to stand up here and deliver a talk on somebody so important in your life. It's truly an honor and a privilege to stand before you to give a short profile, which, seeing how much you write and how much I write, I'm not really looking that short, but on one of this year's recipients, Mrs. Vimla Mohammed, my mother. So during the speech, I might not say Vimla because it's a little weird for me, so I'll just say Mom. So today, Mom is being celebrated for her extraordinary dedication to her faith and to her community. As a recipient of this award, she exemplifies unwavering commitment, self-service, and an inspiring devotion to the spiritual journey. After being given this task, I pondered about how I could summarize her life in just a few minutes, and the answer was I couldn't. It would be impossible to tell every moment which impacted her life, the highs, the lows, all the challenges she overcame, all the good qualities, all the bad qualities, everything, all the people who helped her to become the person she is today. And then a saying popped into my mind. It was a saying often used in the mosque: service to man is service to God. It's something that is preached about in the Holy Quran and something taught by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace. And it's a saying that I believe is befitting of the woman being honored today. So now let me go back to where it all started. Born and raised in the now vibrant and busy and traffic-filled town of Gasparilla, Mom grew up in a close-knit family as the fourth of 9 siblings. As you could probably guess, with 8 other siblings, there was rarely a dull moment growing up. Her upbringing was filled with warmth, laughter, and camaraderie with her siblings, which has shaped her to be a compassionate and family-oriented person. At a young age, her parents, especially her father, instilled in her the importance of discipline and hard work. When not at work at the Texaco refinery, he often took his children along with him to the land in Piparo to work where they really played and made mischief. The importance of family was something that was also of utmost importance growing up. I can recall my mom speaking about the fond memories of spending weeks at a time on the summer vacation by her family in Pinal. It is something that has stuck with her to this day. Along with that, education was also important. It is where she discovered her love for learning and reading. As she attended secondary school, it was her father who introduced her to the world of finance. He would often explain to her the uses and ways to manage money, and this would spark an interest in her. After completing secondary school, she joined the workforce at Cargo Express Limited, which was located in Port of Spain. But after a year of early mornings and late evenings of traveling, she decided to leave that to pursue other options. She took a short vacation to visit the siblings who migrated to Canada, and on her return, she gained employment at Central Precision Engineering Rebuilders Limited. It was here that the journey would change forever. Whilst working here as a young and beautiful woman, she caught the eye of a handsome and then slim Wazir Mohammed, aka Rocky. Eventually, they would go on to date for a couple of years. However, this would be the encounter which exposed her to the religion of Islam. Her coming from a Hindu home and my father from a Muslim home. As the relationship progressed, she became more and more exposed to the religion, often visiting the New Grand Mosque for Eid and other functions. When they decided to get married, she made a choice for herself to accept the religion of Islam as her own. As a new Muslim, she sought to learn more about the religion, first learning some prayers from Dad, and then going on to take classes from Uncle Imtiaz, the new Imam at the New Grand Mosque, and also her father-in-law, the late Sheikh Mohammed, who was the assistant Imam. But the thirst for knowledge didn't stop there. She attended any religious classes offered by the Anjuman, carried out by Maulana Kemal Haidar, and even to this day, she regularly attends classes led by the president of the Anjuman, Sister Farida Mohammed. This thirst for knowledge about religion was something that was very important to her, so much so that it was of utmost importance for her to pass it on to her children, myself and my sister Naila. At a young age, she ensured that we attended Maktab classes, and then as we got older, classes with Maulana. I can vividly remember 10 years, 11 years old, Saturday, all my friends, I excited to watch cartoon and to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Wake up, and before that come in, you're going on gospel load, more than half class. At that time, I was a bit, upset, but I had to do it. I didn't have a choice. But I can safely say that at that time I wasn't pleased, but I am indeed grateful for persistence because it has become a valuable asset to me in my life. She is someone who leads by example. She would always tell me, how would I expect you to be in the mosque if I'm not in the mosque? So as the years progressed, she became a more and more integral member of the New Grand Jamaat. She has been serving as the secretary of the women's group for over 10 years and has taken up the mantle in the organization. And she has taken up the mantle in the organization and execution of events in the mosque after the passing of Adi Auntie Hash and Auntie Babi. So now we're back to the present. 37 happy years of marriage later. And who is Miss Vimla Mohammed now? What are the values that she emulates? She's a woman who is filled with humility. I'm pretty sure when she heard that she was getting the award, she probably was shocked and was wondering like why they giving it to her. Just like your dad who refused it. But my mom, she likes to work in the background. She doesn't do anything with the intent to gain recognition, but simply because it's the right thing to do. Simply because it is something that she thinks she wants to do. She's also someone filled with incredible respect. No matter who you are, she will treat you with respect. She will never pass you straight. If you are the president, if you are the janitor, if you are a homeless person, she will treat you with respect and dignity. Everybody here who know my mother knows she likes to talk. So if you know she's 10 years, and if you know me today for the first time, she's going to talk to you like she knows you whole life. This leads to another attribute about her. She's very charitable and she's very compassionate. She's a person who, if she can help, she will help, whether it be monetary. If not monetary, she will devote her time, which is just as important. Loyalty, honesty, trustworthiness. Being an active member of the Anjuman for over 30 years since she joined, she's been to as much functions as she could be. She's tried to learn as much as she could. She's tried to integrate herself to become of service to everyone here. Being happily married for 37 years, two lovely children, me, of course, Niley. And currently she's making 41 years working at Central Precision. Started off as a secretary, now in charge of all the finances of the company. And she's excited for retirement, so uncle, gotta get some money. Along with that, over the years, she has shown incredible strength and resilience to overcome many obstacles and challenges in her life. Most recently, a couple of years ago, was the passing of her mother. And I could say it was not an easy thing, but even though she wasn't the oldest person in the family, the oldest sibling, she was the one that held the family together. She was the person everyone looked to get things done. I saw her dedication to her mother in the last couple of years, taking care of her, sparing no expense, time was not an issue. Nothing was more important to her than her family. And that's something that she has passed on to us, and anyone who's around her will also experience that. On a lighter note, she also likes to have fun. She's not just serious and always working hard. She likes to travel. She don't tell me when she retired this year, she go in Canada, and I know when I see she again. So I know I'm going on. She likes long drive. She likes long drives to the beach, sightseeing, adventuring, and she loves her dogs. She has 4, well, she had 3 dogs, but now she has 4. I had 1, but she don't really like me now. She just like my mom. Lastly, love. Miss Vimla Mohammed, or Mom, is a devoted mother and a role model to her family, demonstrating the importance of love, integrity, and service in every aspect of life. Her family credits her for instilling values that guide them daily and for being the unwavering foundation upon whom they thrive. As she receives this award, she expresses her heartfelt gratitude firstly to Almighty Allah, whom none of this would be possible without. Her husband, her children, her family, her friends, and all those who have helped to mold her into the person that she is today. Thank you all, Mom. I love you, and very well deserved. Thank you. Salaam alaikum.
Thank you very much, Shazir. I will now like to ask Sister Zenora Bach, wife of Mr. Kifayat Bach, who's also a previous member of the New Grand Jamaat, to present this award to Mrs. Vimla Muhammad. Sure, no problem.
Assalamu alaikum. I must thank the Anjuman for bestowing this award on me, and also to thank all the members of the New Grand Jamaat, my husband, my children, and Shazi said only thank you already, but thank you again. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. So moving on in the program, I know many of you are very disturbed by some of the events taking place in the world today and even in our country. And some of you might be wondering how to move forward, where do we go, what direction do we take? So today's topic, the main topic that we have today is Ahmadiyya movement for a world in turmoil. And I would like to invite our religious head and missionary Maulana M.K. Haidar to make his feature presentation on this topic. Thank you.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خيرا لهم صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين. I bear witness that no God is there without Allah, and I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, is the final messenger of Allah, after whom no prophet, old or new, will come. And I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. My dear sisters and brothers, all assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon all of us who are present here today, not only to attend this first meeting of the Ahmadiyya Anjuman for the year 2025, but the significant year of the observance of our Golden Jubilee, or 50th year of existence. I have read from the Quran a verse that some of you may be familiar with, but I interpret it as follows. You are the most capable community picked out for people as you commit yourselves to proper conduct and you abstain from unwanted behavior and you rely upon Allah. Should like-minded persons of scripture also accept, it will be good for them. We are all aware of the teachings of the Quran and indeed the teachings of all faith systems, that humanity, all of humanity, is one complete entity. Kana nasu ummatun wahida, says the Quran. A very well-known phrase that I interpret in this way. It is for all human beings to exist as a single community. That is the intention of our Creator. That is the intention of Allah. Unfortunately, we see economic and political institutions, plus others as well, but primarily in this age and time, economic and political institutions do not reflect this oneness of humanity, more so in recent times. And I mean recent, within the last couple of weeks or months for that matter. Because the idea of is gaining ground of a sovereign, militarized nation state. That is what many countries of the world are leading to. They look at their own sovereignty, and that sovereignty is maintained by military means, if necessary. And this denies the dignity of all others. That each country that has that attitude of being a proud nation considers other nations to be below them, that they want to be the great or greatest. And in creating their military, that military state, the job of that military is to kill designated enemies. And so you have one country laying charges against another, creating hatred, asking people not to support this country, giving what is called sanctions. The word sanction is supposed to mean holy, but it means to abstain from having anything to deal with them, that country becomes taboo, that you should not trade with them, you should not have communication with them, and if you do, you will also face the same consequences. That is the way of the world today, and this institutions of capitalism and that concept of sovereign nation states tend to foster hate by dividing the world into these militarized territories, willing to slaughter any and all of those who are considered to be not in sync with them, not in accordance with them, and who are considered to be their enemies. So we live in a world of chaos, a world of injustice, a world of violence that wastes trillions of US dollars per year on the militarism, while the basic needs of the majority of human beings remain unmet. In most countries of the world, particularly the larger economically developed countries, a large portion of their budget is spent on the military. And we will find it's a reality that while there are so many people who are suffering in the world, not only from poverty, but from illnesses, and drugs become very expensive because they make more money out of that, they will tend to cut down on expenses on many things, but never in the supply of arms and ammunition for their own so-called protection, or in order to encourage other nations to fight wars for them. So when we talk of a world in turmoil, it is not only in politics and economics that I said. There are different areas of turmoil. First of all, you have the environment. And we know that the world today is dealing with an issue of the environment. In one particular country of the world, recently, the government removed the subsidy for heating for seniors 65 and over. And this has been one of the worst winters they have had, and it is estimated that many old people will die because the government refused to or took away the allowance they had, and they can't afford to heat themselves, and therefore they'll have to just suffer that coldness and die. Or they go to libraries or malls in order to avail themselves of the heating that is not only provided, but is sometimes wasted there. We know that we live in a world also of turmoil so far as health is concerned. And again, this is a big issue. I didn't go into great details in all of these. I'm just outlining them because you are well aware, and if you do read many of the international and local press, these things will be familiar to you. We have had pandemics, we have increasing diseases, particularly well known, as was mentioned this morning, cancer, diabetes, heart complaints. So many younger people are dying now on a daily basis because of health, and healthy people even are dying quite suddenly. And then we have an area of turmoil, which is, I've already mentioned, that is economy. And that seems to be a problem that is difficult, if not impossible, to solve, except if you come to the concepts of Islam. Iqbal mentioned just a while this morning the importance of zakat. And Islam has provided the zakat as a system and a method of economic growth. And there is no doubt that the Quran speaks about zakat as against what is called riba. Translated in many ways, but interpreted as sometimes incorrectly as interest, or some say usury, and try to make a distinction between that. But what is meant by zakat is that we should really live in a society in which we are debt-free. You can only pay zakat when you have. And therefore you should try to adjust your economic situation that you always have so that you can give. Now there's some people who think that, when people borrow from banks and other financial institutions, they have a lot of interest to pay, and that's a part of the society, you can't get rid of it. Otherwise, how the banks will make money? But we don't realize that when people are retrenched, when they are laid off, when their pay is reduced, they have to handle that. Why is it therefore financial institutions cannot suffer a reduction in their income as well by removing all interest for that matter? So debt-free, interest-free money to promote prosperity is a method that Islam, if properly understood, the teachings of the Quran, can be a reality. And the way in which it can be a reality is to manage the first principle of what causes that kind of attitude to hoard funds from other people. And that is the management of greed. In fact, some years ago, when there was a major financial crisis in the world, one of the presidents of one of the largest countries in the Western Hemisphere said that the problems we have in economics is because of greed. Huge companies would just be greedy to make profits and more profits and profits until they borrowed and caused an economic crash. But we also have a world in turmoil when it comes to politics. It started with the concept of divide and rule, and that process still continues. And that politics encourages, to quite a large extent, the use of war to solve the problems of the world. I may point out that in the last century or so, almost every political system that tried to help humanity was totally eliminated. Communism, socialism, fascism, any kind of philosophy. Some were good, some were bad, some were neither here nor there. But it left one particular philosophy that is called democracy. And that particular concept is creating havoc in the world today. I wouldn't go into details of it here. Perhaps under question times that can be discussed more. And we will be having a plenary session where you can put your views, agree or disagree with what I say, but also raise questions if you need further clarification. I have not seen, and I've traveled to many countries, any country in the world that is happy, that promotes democracy. There are always problems, especially in some of the larger countries of the world today. In one particular country recently, or in about to elect a president who is a convicted felon, and that is recognized. Another country recently appointed a government that had landslide majority, and it doesn't think that they can last because they have put so much pressure on people, imposing taxes, blaming the last government, as it were. The other two European countries who are finding difficulty in finding leadership. So this political turmoil is being found especially in the, what I will call, overdeveloped countries. And we are well aware of the fact that politics engender or encourage war. And people say war cannot be intermediated. That's part of the system of the world today. But human beings are not at peace. They are constantly at war. In spite of the untied nations, and I use that word deliberately, untied nations that was formed to stop all wars, we find that they are in constant war with each other. What is surprising is those who denied that Muhammad's battles were defensive, and they said that Islam was spread by the sword. These are now constantly using war and killing to establish their concept of the so-called democracy, that you have to defend it by military means. But they couldn't apply it to the Prophet Muhammad. They couldn't understand that. While they are killing millions of people all over the world, in the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad, not more than 150 people died. People think that the Prophet Muhammad just had a widespread murder and slaughter. And out of those 150, the majority were Muslims themselves who died. The opponents were fewer who died in battle than the Muslims themselves. So what they have, when they have turned the finger against, pointed their finger against the Prophet Muhammad, they are now suffering the consequences of that by being dragged constantly into war. And then we come to a world in turmoil so far as religion. And we know that there's no doubt that institutions of religion have failed. I needn't again go into details. We know what has happened in the Catholic Church about priests and their accusations, and recently even in England, the Archbishop of Canterbury had to resign because of certain issues. And in many other areas, many other religions also, including Muslims themselves, we have found a failure of religion. There are people, Muslims in certain countries of the world, who are so fanatic, they will kill people of other faith systems, Hindus, Sikhs, even members of Shias, members of the Ahmadiyya movement, and others whom they disagree with, because there's a kind of fanaticism that has engulfed the Muslim mind. We come to a world in turmoil so far as education is concerned, and that is a big issue. It will affect you, it will affect your children. Right now, certain countries of the world are refusing or limiting the visas for education into their own countries. And in some cases, the government has taken over subsidies for education, and they are finding difficult and even preventing foreign students from coming to their country to seek education. Australia is an example, England is an example, where the fees are so high that it is almost impossible to go for higher education. We also find that there are social interrelationships that is in turmoil. There's a new trend now in almost every country in the Western world, and when I speak Western, I mean east and west of the Atlantic Ocean, where there's the issue of what is called immigrants, immigration. And this is a structure that is creating in-groups. In-groups meaning in our own country, we are a sovereign nation. We only look after ourselves. We don't want immigrants. We don't want outsiders coming here. So there are in-groups and out-groups. Who are here, who are legally here. If you're not here, you can't come into, you're outside. You're illegal aliens, you're official enemies, you're not of us. And these immigrants are even demonized. You must have read recently in an election where they were so much demonized that immigrants were accused of eating the pets of the cats and dogs and so on of the people in the country, and so that's why we need to get rid of immigrants, because they're coming here and eating our cats and dogs. These kinds of statements are being made. It's a reality. You see it in the media so often. So that sometimes the immigrants are blamed for the horrific problems that the world is facing. The causes of these, according to the religion of Islam, both from the statements of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the teachings of the Quran, it identifies that there are two methods that are used by the world today that is bringing the world in that turmoil. One is the terminology that is we are concerned with as members of the Ahmadiyya movement, and that is the terminology that is called the Dajjal. And Dajjal applies to the fake news, the lies, because the word Dajjal means the arch deceiver. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad has said this even before he was a Mujaddid. In his first book, Barahini Ahmadiyya, in the introduction, he wrote this. And he said, we are living in an age today where people will tell you lies and make you believe it as truth. They will, before people will just believe whatever is told to them. Today, you don't even, the falsehood is being presented to you and repeated and constantly told to you that you have no doubt that it is truth whatsoever. The other principle that is used in the modern world to create this turmoil is what the Quran refers to as Gog and Magog. Muslims sometimes, in their own way, interpret this to mean the Western powers and political entities, but the words Gog and Magog in Arabic, Yajuj and Majuj, has come from the Arabic word Aj, that means fire. And they rarely refer to Gog as an inciter. What we will say, someone chokes fire, as we say. They instigate you to think in a particular way and then you react. So Magog is the one who reacts now. You become instigated and you now react. And we see that. You see the sufferings in certain countries of the world, pressures going on in politics, in religion, and people incite other people and then they react. They kidnap people, they kill people, they terrorize people because of the kind of ideas that are put in their mind. And Mirza Ghulam Ahmad has made this statement. He has said that the way in which the world should function today is that the Western world and non-Muslims should stop calling Muslims terrorists, that Islam is spread by the sword. That's a lie. Stop saying it. But also, the Muslim leaders and scholars should get together and tell Muslims that jihad is not the jihad of the sword. It is the jihad of the pen. That's the very first revelation. Ikra bismi rabbika allazi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaq, allamal insana ya'lam, allama bil qalam. Allah teaches us by the pen, not by the sword. That's the very first revelation. That's what the Prophet Muhammad did. So that we find a world today, especially where Islam is not creating the impact it should in helping this world to rid itself of this turmoil in these and other, these points I've mentioned and others, is because we become sidetracked. Muslims and others as well have become sidetracked by issues such as Palestine, for example. In some cases, members of our own Anjuman are sidetracked by dealing with the Qadiani issue and dealing only with the issue of prophethood, trying to defend that we don't believe Mirza Ghulam Ahmad is a prophet, or objections by the Sunnah Jamaat on certain views that we may have, as the case may be. And what is lacking within the Muslim community is that Muslims don't know how to win friends and to convert enemies. That was the greatest achievement of the Prophet Muhammad. He was able to win friends and he was able to convert enemies. So having given a brief outline of the turmoil that we find ourselves in the world today, we wonder what in fact is the role of the Ahmadiyya movement. Who can really handle this issue and has to move forward in changing a world from hostility to harmony? The solutions that are given is, first of all, we have to institute the rule of law. But whose law? The law of the Constitution. I was pointing out to someone that no country in the world, no political party in the world is governed by a constitution. They have a constitution. The constitution is to limit the powers of the general membership. But in actual reality, political parties are controlled by finances. You see it in a recent election in the United States of America, and every week you will say how much the candidate has earned in funds, how much funds they have collected. And sometimes the election is determined beforehand by the amount of money, millions that you have collected, or you get from supporter, you get a billionaire to support you, you're sure to win the election. Not by the conventions of the particular party. And that is a reality even in our own country, that the political affairs are not determined by the people and by the constitutions, but by the finances of whoever is there controlling the political parties. So the law that we are to introduce into the world to bring order into society is based upon the Quran. Now some people say the Quran is a constitution. They build their country on the constitution is the Quran. But that is a wild statement. The Quran is the foundation of a constitution. We have to understand it, interpret it, and apply it. So it is the foundation of a constitution for the unification of all communities. That's why the Quran says it is Ummah Wahida, unification of all communities, not only Muslims. I think we as an Anjuman are an excellent example of that. In our Anjuman, you are well aware of it, even quite present here, and we saw in case of one of our honorees. There are members of our Anjuman who are Christians and who give full support to this organization, who organize Quranic functions, who come and assist in the mosque, who assist in Jamaats. Some people own businesses who are not Muslims, not members of the Anjuman. And because of the work that we do, they heavily support us in so many ways. We have Hindus, we have Christians, we even have people who have no religion. But they give support because they see that what we are doing is bringing unity among all human beings. In almost every family, we have people of different faith systems that we can live in harmony and not hostility. So Mirza Ghulam Ahmad pointed out that in order to develop the human personality, we have to subdue materialism. And that's why we have a Bayat that says, put religion above the world. It doesn't mean that you have to give up the world. How can you put something above something else if you don't have it? If this podium didn't exist, I couldn't rest this phone on top of it. So you have to have the world first of all. There are some Muslims who say, give up the dunya, the world. Have nothing to do with the world, only focus on religion. That's not the teaching of the Quran. The Quran says, care for the dunya. Look after it. Look after your economic affairs. Look after your health. Look after your political situation. Look after your education. Look after every aspect of life. These are worldly things. They are necessary. Allah has given us a body. And that body functions in a material world. We have to ensure that our entire material existence is fit and proper. But He has also given us a soul. The body will last for a particular time, the soul will last for eternity. So you have to put the development of the soul above the development of the physical self or the material self. So he says, subdue materialism and allow the growth of divine attributes within you, because that is the food of the soul. The attributes of Allah, of love, of kindness, of mercy, of charity, of spending, of giving to others, of service, all of these things. So in his role as a mujaddid, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad sought to revive first and foremost faith in the existence of a living God. That Allah is not an object, a being that you just bow down and worship like an idol. It's a living entity within your heart and mind that you can function with on a daily basis. His attributes are tools that we can use to enhance ourselves and our community and society. In fact, that was the teaching that Jesus said. As often as you do it to one another, you do it to me. So if I show love to another person, if I show forgiveness to another person, that's an attribute of God. And it is developing those attributes of God within me, is what the teachings of Jesus really meant. So we can combine the teachings of the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, the New Testament, the Old Testament, and show that the good things that are taught in these scriptures are there in Islam and can be brought about to enhance and implemented to enhance the human personality. But in order to do that, we cannot just think of Islam and the teachings of Islam as something which is, just an object. You teach Islam and people follow Islam. Islam is good for everybody. No. We have to implement Islam in our own selves. And that's why we are required to take a pledge of allegiance, to commit ourselves to the deliverance of this message in our own personal lives, in our home and family, and our community and society. We don't do it by force. We do it because, as the Quran says, I offer you this trust willingly, unwillingly. And we come, the heavens and the earth come willingly, but we make that choice because there's no compulsion in religion. We choose to follow this religion and to live up to the teachings of the religion. And there's nothing in the Bayat, there's nothing in the pledge that is against the teachings of Islam. It just reinforces, as a young person who is going into the scout troop, they'll have to take a pledge. Be prepared. A person goes to parliament, they take a pledge. You go into the military, you take a pledge. You go into a business sometimes, you have a pledge to say, well, confidentiality agreement or so. You go into a marriage relationship, it's a commitment, it's a pledge. I will respect you, I will give you your rights. Life is all taking of bayats, of taking of pledges. And so we have just instituted by the instructions of the Quran and in our own way that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad has introduced it. This is for the cause and the propagation of Islam that we want people to commit themselves, young as well as old. And that's why we invite you to come and join with us by making this commitment. I recall in one of our Jamaats, I would mention it, some years ago, we were having a fundraising venture. And the senior member of the Jamaat came to me and said, I'm not getting the support to help for this fundraising venture. I said, okay. I said, but speak to the members who have taken the pledge. They are members of the Anjuman. This is an Anjuman's function. So I went and gave a Jummah khutbah and said, I want all the members who have taken the pledge here to come out on such and such a day and let's do the work the day before the function. And they responded because they awoke into them the spirit that, look, I am committed to the cause of Islam. Whatever I could give in my efforts and my time, it's an extra motivation. And as the Quran says, the hand of Allah will be upon you. So to rid the world of structural hate, which is what I call, because hate is something that is structured. It is organized. It is not something that just occurs, as we say, vaiki in an arbitrary manner. And it is brought about by global politics and by global economics that affects each and every one of us. So what I'm saying here is something that will not affect you alone, but your children, your grandchildren, and future generations. And so in order to control hate, the Quran says, and Mirza Ghulam Ahmad has written a lot on this. He quotes the verse of the Quran that says, Qazimin al-Ghaiz, an expression I often like to repeat. Qazimin al-Ghaiz, that is, true Muslim is Qazimin al-Ghaiz, the controllers of rage. That we have to control our anger and our rage. We see it so much in the world today. We know what is road rage. We see husband and wife arguing and then one takes up a cutlass or a gun and shoots the other one or hits the other people. Neighbors fighting among themselves and again, Gog and Magog. one person instigates the other, you abuse or curse someone, he gets angry and he begins to retaliate, and so we find that we see it in the world today. I was sad to see where in a country in the world there was what's called a fire that burnt down thousands of homes, sometimes of millions, and people were saying, I came and I saw my house and everything is there, and they were weeping and crying. I said, but the other parts of the world where you still have a house, you still have life, you still probably could get funds to build back your house. There's some people whose other parts of the world, especially in the Middle East, people are bombed. They have nowhere to go. The entire hospitals, everything is gone. They say, well, these people, the restaurants are destroyed, and so they have no jobs. But here people have no food either. So you're crying and weeping in one part of the world for people who have and still have and have opportunity, and where people have nothing, nobody is bothered. So that we have to really think a little differently as to the methods that we need to use to change our society. I remember a statement I read by one very famous, well-known citizen of the United States of America who had to leave there because people didn't agree with his ideas. And he said once, he said, if I have to meet the president, first thing I'll tell him is to get rid of the military, to abolish all militaries from the world as simply unnecessary. We as members of the Ahmadiyya movement believe that we can change the world without military means. We can do so with the words of the Quran. We can do so. We want to, as was mentioned by some of our seniors here in our business session this morning, we need to educate them, and we are working on that as well. So when we look at what the Ahmadiyya movement can do for a world in turmoil, is to recognize that the coming of the promised Messiah, that's one of the prophecies of Islam. The Messiah who is promised is a prophecy for all human beings, represented a person. Promised Messiah means a person who will bring about gentle guidance. You will see in some of the pamphlets we have here, and we indicated this. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad as a Mujaddid, and as a Mahdi, and as a promised Messiah, and as Jesus. 4 things. He is one Imam, fulfilling 4 rules. And we will be followed through this theme in this 50th year, giving the world an idea why these major claims are there. Why is he Mujaddid? Why is he a Mahdi? Why is he a promised Messiah? Why has he claimed to be the second, the return of Jesus? So we hope you'll follow us, and as was mentioned by our Vice President, give support in every way, particularly financial support, so we can get this message to the world. We have the means and the media now. So the promised Messiah means a person who will bring about gentle guidance. A Messiah means, Masa means to touch gently. Not using violent means, non-violence, but using gentle means to bring about a change. And the Mahdi is a prophecy to the Muslim world of a personality who will bring about harmony among Muslims and gentle guidance from the Quran. Again, the same word Mahdi also means gentle guidance. And the prophecy for the second coming of Jesus, or the return of Jesus, second coming is an indication that the method that is to be used in the propagation of Islam is what I will call the Jesus method. You know, Jesus used analogies, parables. The word is the only prophet that didn't have to fight a physical battle, unlike Moses and others who were faced with physical challenges. So we find that the promised Messiah and the Mahdi promotes the principles of Islam that we carry forward by means of the power of the word, by the power of arguments and reasoning, and most important, by the power of patience and self-restraint. So my dear sisters and brothers, the task is onerous. Many of us are seniors, but we have to commit ourselves and encourage our younger generation to commit themselves. And that is why we want to embrace people into a community that will be dedicated to promoting the teachings of Islam in the way in which God has appointed a man who came. As I said, I recall in one of our new executive members some years ago, his father had a Quranic function, and I said, you know, people say, what is happening in the world today? God put a hand. But God not only put a hand, he sent a man. And that man was Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the Mujaddid of the 14th century, to give us the guidance, the tools, and how to use those tools to create a world in which there will be harmony, not hostility. I hope that some of these issues you will raise and understand and reinforce in your minds under the plenary sessions that we may have, the questions and answers or comments that you'd like to make. I want to thank you for your attention. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim. ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم إنه تعالى جواد كريم ملك بر رحيم. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maulana. And I would like to leave the floor open now for any questions anyone will have pertaining to this topic. Anyone else? Anyone else? Any questions or comments pertaining to this topic? Yeah.
Sound check. Hello? Sound check. Switch on. Sound check. No. Hello. Yeah, it's better. Really open to anyone like to comment, but I really I just like to make observation on what sisters such as Tobago. First of all human beings have to understand the Quranic principle of Khan and Asa Ummatul Wahid. We are all one community, not immigrants and non-immigrants, not aliens, not people of different nationalities or different races. We are just human beings. We may have different, as the Quran says, created in different tribes and families. The purpose is so that we go and understand and live in harmony with each other. That's the first principle. The second thing is that we have to remove what is called or control or subdue hatred and dislike. And that is becoming rampant in today. Everybody is proud of their own country, their own religion, their own race, and they want to highlight that. And that's all right. You feel proud of yourself and who you are, your identity. But not at the expense of demonizing other people and feel the blacks are bad, or the whites are bad, they're Satan and this. We have seen all of that in the last century or so. And thirdly, the issue of using violence as a means of bringing people into a peaceful existence. That is something that all human beings have to, eschew. They have to stay away from. Already there are signs of people, especially faith systems, who consider themselves to be what is called Abrahamic religions. That is, our religions are all based upon Abraham: Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And these are the four major religions, or business or offshoot of Hinduism, and so on. So they tend to feel that we have a commonness, a common heritage, like the descendants of Abraham. That's why when we say our rule, we say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, kama sallaita ala Ibrahim. So there are two things that can unite the world. One is the descendancy from Abraham, and that's the physical or religious descendancy, but more so the moral and spiritual descendancy from the Prophet Muhammad or Ali Muhammad. That is the Prophet Muhammad as well, has given to us the unity of all religious systems. That is what Islam stands for. We believe in all scriptures, we believe in all the prophets of God. No other religion gives the kind of unity of concept of all religions as the Quran and the religion of Islam. So it's very simple. It's just a matter of getting dedicated people to work to promote these ideas to the wider community. So far, it is only in the books. It is only in the minds of a few people. That's why we are appealing here for the date of 2025, our 50th year. We are asking people to join in this great task of carrying this important message to the world. That's why Allah and will benefit your children, your grandchildren, and even future generations, whether they belong to you or not.
All the previous ideologies of failed, like communism, socialism, fascism, and so on. You mentioned that democracy has also been, now it's the biggest failure. Can you point out any Muslim country that says it's a Muslim country in which the people live in peace and harmony and with happiness and so on? Any Muslim country? If not, then why not these Muslim countries
identify a country because this concept of democracy is being promoted all over, failing. In fact, someone has now redefined democracy. Democracy is no longer by election by ballot, but by election by riot. The moment people riot and they overthrow the government, then that is, the new government is not recognized. The leader in Syria was terrorists and declared terrorists is now being welcomed by the Western world. Every support having overthrown the previous leader. Now, while I cannot identify a particular country, I can identify one particular town of Muslims that existed from the time of the Prophet Muhammad and still exists today. I can't remember the name of it. I can find it. I've given a sermon a football on this particular point some time last year. But it's a small town in India, on the eastern side of eastern coast of India. The people had descendants from the time of the Prophet Muhammad. In that particular town, there are no police stations, no cinemas and so on, no alcohol, and people live in constant harmony with each other, and they cherish the fact that the graves and so on, they are all from the time of the Prophet Muhammad, companions who went there and migrated there and remained. So I do know of one particular country where people live in harmony, there are no fighting, there are no killings, as I said, there are no equal police stations and so on. So that is the only place that I can identify.
I would like to know, is there a concept of democracy in Islam, in the Quran? Is there a concept?
Well, the concept that we have of democracy is incorrect in that it says demo means people, krasi means rule, rule by people, that's all. Islam is ruled by people, yes, there are laws, but the laws that the people follow are laws that are given by Allah. What we have in the democracy today are laws that are given by human beings who develop a constitution with, and they change the constitution to suit. They appoint their leaders, they appoint their judiciary, and there's a lot of things which are not, they're not even consistent with one another. In fact, a new definition of democracy has come about now where people are free and people mistake democracy for freedom. It's not the same. Democracy is a system where people are free to elect leaders who will take away their freedom. Because on a daily basis, they say that you can't publish this, you can't say that, this is hate speech, that is so and so. On the other hand, some says no, it must free speech. Recently, you saw one particular social media says we are going to remove all checks and balances on statements that people make. We want them to be able to say whatever they want. It's confusing. It's contradictory in many cases. So certain countries are considered to be good countries, even if they use massive military means to destroy other people. For example, and unfortunately, Muslims themselves are not responding. I was amazed to see where, in some of the reactions people have as to the situation that's going on there in Palestine, that on the one hand, you find many of the Western media saying that, the hostages have to be returned, okay, those who are alive, 90, 100, whoever they are out of the 1,200. Nobody is saying what about the 46,000 people that have been killed, including children, almost 20 or 25,000. How are they going to return home before you have a peace? Hostages must be refilled, and the Muslims themselves are not promoting this kind of idea that, look, you are talking about just a few people who have been dead. Look how many people have died. And Muslim countries themselves are not doing as much demonstrations as we see in the Western countries. And nobody seems to be getting any nearer to a solution. Perhaps they're using the wrong method and the wrong approach. So this is what I'm saying. It's not that we don't feel sad for people in any part of the world who are suffering, whether Ukraine, whether Yemen, whether Palestine, whatever it is. We feel for any human life. But at the same time, trying to resolve those issues, we have to look at the correct method. And I believe in the Ahmadiyya movement, we have a message that can change the mindset of people if only we, put our minds and heads together and use the resources we have. But as I said, democracy is no longer just, electing a government by ballot. There are so many countries in the world which are elected, the governments are elected by riot. You've had the Arab Spring, you've had so many things in Pakistan. The leader of the prime minister was arrested and put into jail so that another person who was formally convicted of crimes and had to leave came back and became prime minister. It's all a mess. It's a world in turmoil. So you would be surprised to see, in the Western media, you find a lot of things against Islam or so. One of the most media that is promoting the cause of Muslims, especially Muslims in Palestine, is a Jewish paper, Haaretz, which is constantly calling for, the rights of the Palestinian people. And many Muslims are not aware of that because we are taught to hate all Jews and don't realize that there are some Jews who are doing more for Islam and more for the people of Palestine and even the Arabs themselves, who have been trying to, have a hostage or peace deal for so many years and they can't go anywhere. And so that we have to start thinking a little differently outside of the box and not being instigated, Yajuj and Majuj, not being instigated by what we see on certain media without realizing that there are balanced media, there are others who are also striving hard to be able to get justice and the concept of Islam as a religion of peace into the world. So this is what this function is all about, to help us to change our mindset and not just focus on things that sidetrack us from the true cause of Islam, which is the understanding the Quran and promoting this to a wider world.
Thank you very much, Maulana. Implement the Quran in our lives, unify all communities and human beings, implement Islam in our daily lives. And one of the things that he mentioned was the actual taking of the Bayat, or pledge, or the commitment to Islam. So the Bayat, or the pledge of the Anjuman, shows our commitment to the Ahmadiyya movement and the propagation of Islam. And to explain the conditions of the Bayat and what it entails, we have a small video presentation that will take place now.
Firstly, that until I am laid in my grave, I will shun all forms and shades of shirk or polytheism. Bayat is nothing more than a solemn pledge made in public to stand for a certain cause. It brings divine solace to the heart to keep it firm through thick and thin. These are the 10 conditions of Bayat, as given to us by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam, founder of the Ahmadiyya movement in Islam. Firstly, that until I am laid in my grave, I will shun all forms and shades of shirk or polytheism. This means not associating any partners with God. Secondly, that I will guard against falsehood, fornication, evil sights, and every form of sin, evil, cruelty, dishonesty, disorder, and rebellion, and that in moments of passion, I will on no account give in, however boisterous that passion may be. Thirdly, that without fail, I will say my prayers 5 times a day, as enjoined by God and his messenger, and that, to the best of my power, I will say my midnight prayer. I will invoke divine blessings on the Holy Prophet. I will ask forgiveness for my sins, and with a truly loving heart, I will recall God's favor and glorify him. Fourthly, I will do nothing in any way to injure my fellow human beings in general, and Muslims in particular, neither with the tongue, nor with the hand, nor in any other way. Fifthly, I will show fidelity to God under all circumstances. alike in prosperity and adversity, in pleasure and pain, in time of bliss and affliction. I will resign myself to God under all conditions, and will cheerfully bear all hardships and humiliations in his way. In the hour of calamity, I will not turn my back, but will step yet onward. Sixthly, I will abstain from the observance of evil customs, or following the promptings of my lower nature. I will thoroughly submit to the yoke of the Holy Quran, and that in every walk of life I will hold the word of God and of his messenger as his guiding principle. Seventhly, I will totally abstain from haughtiness and will live in humility, meekness, and mildness. Eighthly, I will hold the honor of religion and sympathy for Islam dearer than everything else, dearer than my life, my wealth, my honor, my children, my friends, and my relatives. Ninthly, I will make it a rule of my life to show sympathy towards all human beings out of love for God, and that to the best of my power, I will use all of my God-given faculties and blessing for the benefit of humanity. Tenthly, binding myself with Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the founder of the Ahmadiyya movement in Islam, in a fraternal bond in the way of Allah, I will obey him in everything good, and will live up to his pledge till my death, that in this fraternal bond I will show sincerity as is not met with in cases of blood relations or other worldly connection. We are therefore making a special appeal for anyone who is willing to take this step and make this commitment towards your individual upliftment and your role in propagating Islam.
So I will now invite any interested persons or anyone who is interested in renewing the Bayat to come forward, and Maulana M.K. Haidal will conduct this. Any interested persons or those who are willing to renew?
I'll think about it.
Okay, hold each other. We do have a Bayat form, and if a person doesn't want to come forward but would like to sign the Bayat form as part of your commitment, we'd appreciate that. So we do have forms. It's a certificate that you will keep. I just want to, before we take the Bayat, explain the last line of the conditions of Bayat. As you see, there's nothing there that's against the teachings of Islam. We are required to do that anyway. It's just a further commitment. But when we say we accept Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in a fraternal bond, that is a very important statement, because every messenger, every prophet is considered to be a spiritual father of his ummah. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad is not a prophet, and that is evident by that statement. He is a big brother to us. He's not our spiritual father. The Prophet Muhammad is our prophet, the last prophet. He's our spiritual father. The Mujaddid or Mirza Ghulam Ahmad is merely the spiritual brother. He's elder than us, and he's guiding us as to how we could follow the Prophet Muhammad. So that's why that last verse is very important. Even members of the other section of the Ahmadiyya movement take the same pledge, and they probably don't understand what they're doing. But it's evidence of the fact that we don't accept Mirza Ghulam Ahmad as a prophet of God. Okay? You will. All right. Yes. Let's see. Say after me. Ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. I bear witness that there is no object of adoration besides Allah, who is one and has no associate, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and his messenger. This day, I join the movement of the Mujaddid, the promised Messiah, and the Mahdi, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, at the hand of Maulana Mustafa Kemal Haidar, and sincerely pledge that so far as my wit and power go, I will eschew all evil and will hold religion above the world. To the best of my capacity, I will fulfill the obligations of prayer, of fast, of charity, and of the pilgrimage to Mecca. And to the best of my means, I will exert myself in the propagation of Islam and the extension of the movement as the Ahmadiyya Anjuman, Isha'at-i-Islam, Lahore may direct. Astaghfirullah Rabbi min kulli zambin wa atubu ilayhi. Rabbi inni zalamtu nafsi wa taraftu bizambi faghfirli zunubi فإنه لا يغفر zunuba illa anta. I ask forgiveness of Allah for all my sins, and to Him I turn. I have been unjust to myself, O Allah, and I confess my shortcomings. So be merciful to forgive me, for no one forgives except yourself. Ameen. Let's all offer dua. Allah may bless these who have spoken. And if any of you have recited in your mind, and you can just indicate to us, we'll issue the certificate to you for having taken the pledge of Bayat. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. O Allah, we thank you for this day, for the opportunity you have given to us, for these young persons who have taken their commitment to uphold the cause of Islam and to help propagate. O Allah, we ask that you would give them the strength, and all those in the audience who are committed to this cause, bless them, put your hand upon them, and give them the power to be able to carry the message of Islam to a world that is in turmoil. Our Lord, help us and guide us in all our affairs. Give us the resources and give us the guidance and the direction to use these resources for the propagation of Islam and for your love and affection and service to you. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Amin, amin, amin. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Thank you very much.
very much, and congratulations to you all. So moving forward, just as I would just like to, those of you who would have taken the Bayat, you can check Brother Arif Rahman afterwards for record purposes, for him to take your proper name, as well as Maulana too, so he can issue your certificate. So moving on in the program to sing the song of Ahmadiyya for the first time, I would like to invite Sister Nadia Alisha from the Gospel Jamaat.
Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Brothers and sisters, all assalamu alaikum. Salli ala Muhammad, kya shani Ahmadi hai, dono jahan mein jari, फैसानी अहमदी है, फैसानी अहमदी है। मामूर नूर हक से हर आने अहमदी है, उस नूर से मुनवार दरमान अहमदी है, दरमान अहमदी है। सल्ले अला मुहम्मद, क्या शान अहमदी है, दोनों जहां में जारी, फैसानी अहमदी है, फैसानी अहमदी है। नूरी मोहम्मद देखी अहदे कले करिश्मी, मिसली आवाज़ खानी, हर जानी अहमदी है, हर जानी अहमदी है। सल्ले अला मुहम्मद, क्या शान अहमदी है, दोनों जहां में जारी, फैसानी अहमदी है, फैसानी अहमदी है। मिर्ज़ा गुलाम अहमद, ला रैब है मुजद्दिद, जो घूमा पकी है, फरमान अहमदी है, फरमान अहमदी है। सल्ले अला मुहम्मद, क्या शान अहमदी है, दोनों जहां में जारी, फैसानी अहमदी है, फैसानी अहमदी है। तसलीस के चमन को देखो खज़ां में आई, फूलों पला जहां में, रिज़वानी अहमदी है, रिज़वानी अहमदी है। क्या शान अहमदी है दोनों जहां में जारी फैसानी अहमदी है फैसानी अहमदी है फैसानी अहमदी है. I will just read two verses of the translation. Send blessings on Muhammad. How glorious is being an Ahmadi. In both worlds, there is continuous flow of Ahmad, the Prophet Muhammad. Every moment is Ahmad, commanded by the life of the true aura of Ahmad. The Holy Prophet is illuminated by this third light of truth. Look at the light of Muhammad, his uniqueness and his charisma. Ameen, assalamu alaikum, and I just wish to say, if I made any mistakes, which I think I did, I humbly apologize, all right? So, thanks so much, assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Sister Nadia. And for many years, Auntie Sharifa Muhammad Ramlal would have sung that song, and I think, and because she's going on in health, she has been telling us for the past few years, see if you all get somebody else to sing that song. See if you all get it. And I really think you did justice to the song. Thank you very much, Sister Nadia. Now, as we come to the closing of the evening session, I would just like to reiterate some points from our morning session. This year, the Anjuman is celebrating its golden anniversary, 50 years. Our launch of activities for this year will start on Sunday, 26th of January at Ahmadiyya House. That's right here. That is also the celebration of the Miraj of our Holy Prophet Muhammad. Our local and all are invited. You all will get correspondence via social media, WhatsApp, and Jamaat's announcements. Our local leg of the convention begins in April, and the Anjuman's caravan will be visiting all Jamaats. Jamaats are reminded to consult with the letter that was sent to your executive and book an available day at your convenience. The local leg of the convention will end on June 8th with a Jubilee event, as the actual date of our golden anniversary will be on June 9th. Our international convention, we will keep you posted. But our tentative dates for that would be the 8th, 9th, and 10th of August. Brother Farzan Ramjan and Brother Nadeem Haidal are the heads of this committee. So any suggestions, questions, or contributions, anything you may want to add or suggest, feel free to contact them. Additional reminders, our next executive meeting will take place on Sunday, 19th of January. That's next Sunday, 9 a.m. at Ahmadiyya House. But we also offer online for those who can't make it. Going forward again with the convention, remember as a Jamaat to book your dates for the local leg of the convention. We would like to also make an appeal for historical pictures for inclusion in our 50th anniversary brochure, and these can be forwarded to Imam Dr. Hamza Rafiq or any member of the executive. We are looking forward to your cooperation in all our events. Keep your dates vacant, and we need everyone's assistance. Most importantly, as Brother Farzan Ramjan mentioned this morning, we will need financial assistance to effectively execute these events. So before I end, I would just like to put you on to Brother Nadeem Haidal, and he would give a few remarks, and then I would invite the closing dua.
Assalamu alaikum. Earlier today, Brother Farzan would have outlined our schedule of activities for the year, and he made a special appeal to all of you to assist with helping the Anjuman to raise funds for the convention and the 50th anniversary celebrations. However, I would like to make an appeal, as Roshni just mentioned, for us to collect digital artifacts of our history. We have been converting some of our physical records of the Anjuman into electronic format so that we can share it not only with you, but also with other persons throughout the world. And to take us on memory lane a bit, we have a brief presentation to share some of the many, many memories that would have been created over the last 50 years. So if you do have any pictures, any videos, any audio recordings, any newspaper clippings or other articles and so on, please reach out to us and share them with us. So if you know anybody who is not here, feel free to reach out to us and share them with us. So with those few words, we go straight into our trip down memory lane.
I think we all appreciated those memories. So as we come to the end of the program, I'd like to say thank you all for your time. Thank you for being an attentive audience. And thanks to everyone who participated in this evening's program. We wish you all the best for 2025, and whatever challenges may come your way in 2025, may Almighty Allah give us all the strength to deal with it. For surely Almighty Allah does not give us more than we can bear, chapter 2, verse 286. So we'll now, as we close off, we'll now have the closing dua. Oh, before I end, a little announcements. There are some food, a limited amount of food remaining. So if anybody's interested, you all could have some before you leave. That's one, and we are really asking for your assistance to help clean up, pack up the chairs, and take out the garbage afterwards. All right, so we'll now have the closing dua by Imam Iqbal Haidar. Thank you.
Let us all join in the durood. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First of all, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawm Ad-Din, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, Sirata al-ladhina an'amta alayhim, Ghayri al-maghdubi alayhim wa lad-dallin. Wallah, we thank Thee for the blessings of today, for all who have participated and all who have come to this Jalsa. May you guide them to safety at home. May you guide them also to join with us in our 50th anniversary so that we can extend to the world and to ourselves the glory of Islam through the Ahmadiyya movement. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار آمين لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.